Happy Wednesday, folks, and welcome back to #AskGSM here today, episode 415 for Wednesday, November 10th, 2021. I am Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having a great week. If you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the #AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.GSM.Matthews. Be sure to drop a comment on the post today, usually put up on Tuesday nights. I forgot this week. I apologize. I was actually out last night, which I'll get to in a second. But yeah, so you can drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, and if I don't, you can always drop your question on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So the questions are all over the place as far as like my organization here. Usually, actually, they're pretty well structured here in my on my Twitter feed. Sometimes I'll like have questions, like if John sends in a few questions, I'll try to group them all together as opposed to like scatter them. Because sometimes I get like in my likes, which is where I'm looking at the questions right now that you guys sent in on Tuesday night. Sometimes they're kind of like you'll send in one at one point and then another at another point, which, you know, it's up to me usually to organize them in a document. I haven't done that yet. Like I said, I was out last night seeing the Eternals. And it was one of those movies where with all the Marvel movies, I always see the movie the night it comes out, the night before it comes out, the weekend it comes out, all of them. I saw Black Widow on the Thursday before it was supposed to come out that weekend. Endgame, same thing. I saw the Spider-Man movie like the day it came out 2 years ago. Shang-Chi, I saw that weekend. What else has been out recently? I know those were like the more recent Marvel movies. 2018 I saw... I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp that weekend when it came out. Infinity War. This is probably the first Marvel movie I've waited to see in definitely a few years. Probably, Ragnarok I saw the week that it came out too. Black Panther I might have waited. To see Black Panther, but that might have been the only one. That was a very good movie. The Eternals, I specifically waited until Tuesday to see it. One, because I was busy over the weekend, but two, because it was $5 at my local movie theater. And speaking of which, I'm actually going to be seeing Full Gear in a movie theater on Saturday. Here in Connecticut, there's a few movie theaters that are doing it. Actually, all across the state, or not across the state, but all across the country. WWE did something similar with SummerSlam, and we were going to go to that. I couldn't. Alexis still did. She brought her brother. We got 3 tickets. We were all supposed to go. I got invited to SummerSlam at the very last second, so I couldn't. But they still went at a place in Stamford, and it was awesome, they said. And the show was very good, obviously, just in general. WWE only had one theater available in Connecticut, which is weird. I mean, it was near Stamford, near their headquarters here in the state of Connecticut. Other cities were different. AEW, I guess they worked out a deal with Cinemark. So a lot of the Cinemark theaters here in the state are hosting Full Gear. So we're going to see it on Saturday. And the funny thing about that is that in writing for Bleacher Report and working for Bleacher Report, I get to watch the show for free. Because obviously the whole Warner Media connection and whatever, I always have had the chance to watch the AEW pay-per-views for free. I want to pay to go see this one, to be honest with you. I mean, if I'm not at the show, I haven't watched an AEW pay-per-view on Bleacher Report or BR Live or Fight or whatever since Double or Nothing, because I was at All Out. I paid for the tickets. I didn't get free tickets to that show. I paid money to go see that show. And that was before the whole Punk and Danielson rumors broke out. And now with Full Gear, I'm not going to it in wherever it is, St. Louis or wherever the pay-per-view is. It's Minneapolis, I think, is where they're hosting the show. But they are doing it in a movie theater. I don't know if I would go see every AEW pay-per-view in a movie theater, but they only do it 4 times a year, and it's a big show, and I'm really looking forward to Omega and Page and the rest of the card, so I'm looking forward to that. But long story short, I didn't have the questions organized last night because I saw Eternals. Solid movie. Definitely the weakest Marvel movie I've seen in a while. Definitely in several years. Not even close, if not ever. Not a bad movie. Little long, good, enjoyable, just not great. And it's just kind of weaker in comparison. A lot of the recent installments. Even Shang-Chi. Honestly, I like Black Widow more than Eternals. And I might be in the minority on that. But we'll probably have a full review up at some point myself. Hopefully Phil and Chris as well. Doing a review of the Eternals at some point in the next few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. But let's get right into your questions here today for episode 415, starting from YouTube. No L from YouTube. Their first question was, how would you book this year's Survivor Series tag team matches? I'm not going to go through elimination by elimination, But the fact they announced the teams on Twitter, I'll tell you right out of the gate right now, was a fucking joke. I don't think in the many years, and WWE has had a presence on Twitter for well over a decade now, okay? This is not something they've done every year. They've announced other things on Twitter. They've made match announcements on Twitter. They'll further angles on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and whatever. I get that. And we all remember Tout. All right, I guess some of us do anyway. Anyway, those of us that have been around long enough to remember the dark days of WWE, even darker than right now when we had the Tout shit. But anyway, I don't know if I have ever seen them announce the combatants in a Survivor Series elimination match until this past weekend. I mean, that is an all-new low, and I have been complaining for weeks, where the fuck is the build for Survivor Series? Are we even getting a Survivor Series pay-per-view? I just don't really understand. But we got that last Saturday. It was incredibly lazy. They already replaced one of the members with replaced Dominic with Bobby Lashley, which, from a storyline standpoint, it was fine. I don't know why Adam Pearce would all of a sudden be thinking, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have put Dominic on the team. Then why the fuck did you put him on the team in the first place? And not only that, he's like, oh, I want to win. Why would he be partial to one show or the other? He's the general manager for both shows alongside Sonya Deville. It makes no sense. But anyway, the matches themselves, like, there's a lot of talent involved. There's no fucking stakes. It's impossible to care. Honestly, this year more than any other, I could not, and I mean, this is nothing new, but I really could not care less about the brand supremacy bullshit, who the sole survivors are going to be, because the matches feel so thrown together. And the people that are on each team are just so incredibly fucking random. There were no qualifiers. So it really is impossible to care, even more now than ever before, which is saying something. We have reached a new low with the build for Survivor Series. That being said, I look at these elimination matches. Again, a lot of talent involved in both the men's and the women's elimination matches. There isn't any one person I look at and think to myself, oh, that would be a great sole survivor. The only person I could see making sense, the most sense, would be Rollins, because Rollins just turned heel. I mean, no, not just turned heel. I'm sorry, Owens just turned heel. But Rollins just became the number one contender to the WWE Championship. So you would think they would want to protect him to an extent. So I'm going to go with Rollins as the sole survivor for Team Raw. We had a clean sweep of SmackDown last year, I think. I would not do that again. I thought that was really stupid. And that's actually happened before, too, I think. I don't know if it was a clean sweep, but Raw has won. I don't think SmackDown has won the elimination match for the men since 2016, maybe? I know Raw won in 2017, 2018, 2019, NXT. Oh, no, wait. No, SmackDown won in 2019. SmackDown won in 2019, so. And then 2020 was Raw. I'm going to go with Raw. I think Raw is winning this one as well. I could see Owens getting himself DQ'd or something. I don't think Balor's going to be the sole survivor. Mysterio gains nothing from being the sole survivor. Bobby Lashley, maybe I could see, but I feel like he's going to be the one protected, like being counted out or disqualified. And they've done dumb stuff in these elimination matches before, like Walter getting booted in 5 minutes. So I wouldn't put it past him to get for Bobby to be the first one gone or something like that. Speaking of which, I see Sami Zayn being the first one eliminated for the men on Team SmackDown, if not the entire match. There is no way he lasts more than 5 or 10 minutes. Happy Corbin. I mean, I like Corbin, but I do not need to see him win for his team or be the sole survivor. I like King Woods. Him being the sole survivor and fighting from underneath would be cool. I just don't expect it. Hardy's an easy elimination. They just don't seem as a priority right now. It's really between Rollins and McIntyre, and I think Rollins, because he already has the title shot, Drew does not. I think Rollins will win for Team Raw. For the women, if I'm going with Team Raw for that, I would probably have to go with SmackDown for the women. It's hard, though. It's really hard. SmackDown does not have great teams this year. I mean, the men's blows SmackDown's right out of the water. I mean, they have Rollins, Balor, Owens, Mysterio, Bobby. SmackDown, I like Zayn and Corbin, but they're mid-carders at best. And Woods as well. Hardy and McIntyre. And even Hardy's been booked like a loser, so Raw has to win that one. I feel like Raw has to win for the women, too. SmackDown has Aaliyah. Who gives a fuck? Natalya. Who cares? I like Sasha, Shotzi, and Shayna. Maybe one of them. I would love if Shayna was the sole survivor for SmackDown. But they're pushing Shotzi right now. She probably... That's the weird thing. Her and Sasha are supposed to be enemies, right? So if Aaliyah sucks, I don't think she's going to last. Natalya is whatever. She's expendable. Shotzi and Sasha will probably cancel each other out. Unless Shayna somehow eliminates everyone on Team Raw, or most of the people on Team Raw, and she wins for Team SmackDown, Maybe, but I'm probably going to go with Raw. I mean, Raw has Liv Morgan, who is the current number one contender to the Raw Women's Championship. Zelina, they're pushing. Carmella, I don't really care about at this point, but I mean, I could see Zelina kind of edging in there towards the end because she is the queen right now. I wouldn't make her the sole survivor. I would make it Bianca, but maybe she'll get, she'll be injured going in because of Doudrop, and that's how they lose. Rhea Ripley was one of the sole survivors back in 2019, so her repeating that success would be cool. I just don't see them putting all the pressure on Shayna to win the whole thing, so I'm going to go with Raw. I think Raw will have either Liv and Bianca be the sole survivors, maybe Bianca, Rhea, and Liv, maybe Zelina in there too, but I see Raw winning both matches. Honestly, it's just a mismatch as far as the talent are concerned. Aaliyah really throws Team SmackDown for a loop. If it was Toni Storm or someone along those lines, who I know hasn't been booked the best, but at least she's more of a threat on that team than fucking Aaliyah, who has not won a single match in God knows how long, and she's also just not that good, then I'd be like, okay, maybe it's more even. But really, Raw has the clear advantage in both matches, in my opinion. No L, second question from YouTube. Do you see Hangman finally winning the AEW World Championship at Full Gear? Also, can I have a birthday shout-out? Of course. Happy birthday, No Laura. Thank you very much for sending in questions every single week here to the show. I hope whether it's either today or tomorrow or yesterday, whenever your birthday is or was, I hope it's a great day. I hope it was a great day, and hope you got a lot of great gifts and enjoyed your day. So happy birthday. And again, thank you for your continuous support of the show by sending in questions and checking out these videos. I really appreciate it. And that goes for all of you, especially those that send in questions almost every week. It really does mean a lot. But anyway, as far as Hangman finally winning the AEW World Championship at Full Gear, I do see it. There's a slight chance Omega wins. Not even slight. I mean, there's a decent chance Omega wins, and they prolong the program. I don't think they would do it to fuck with people, like, oh, fuck the fans. You thought Paige was going to win. Haha. Not anymore. That's a WWE thing to do. I think if they were to have Omega win, in their mind, and when I say their, I mean Tony Khan, in his mind, he would be doing he would be thinking, oh yeah, let's, surprise the people, not fuck them over, but more so let's prolong the program and kind of do something a little bit different, and this will benefit Paige in the long run. I don't think it would. It's either now or never for Paige. I mean, the guy's lost a fair share. He's been cooled off, heated back up. I'm done with the fucking blue ball and baity shit, the bait and switch shit with Adam Page. So let's just get him the championship. It's going to be an awesome moment. It's got to be a Full Gear. He can't lose a Full Gear 2 years in a row to Kenny Omega. It's something I could see them doing, honestly, which is why it's not a slam dunk that Page is going to win. But I do think they'll do the right thing and have Page close out the show as champion. It's entirely possible Danielson wins the Eliminator tournament and Omega wins, retains the championship, and they move on to Danielson and Omega. I don't know. I really hope they wouldn't do that. Page is the guy. Now is the time. You don't wait until winter is coming or January or Revolution in February. It has got to be on Saturday. It has to be. No more waiting. At Rutland. At Reborn Again, excuse me, from the Twitter machine. John Rutland from Twitter. He's on YouTube as well, obviously, as I say every single week. Real honesty with John Rutland. He does great work. John's first question was, so WWE announces the participants for all these Survivor Series elimination matches on Twitter, then changes one of them the next night on Raw. Why couldn't they just do qualifying matches like in years past? I should have saved the rant from before for this question, but John, I like you just said, I completely agree. I just got done talking about it. It's fucking lazy. It's lazy. And people will try to tell you, well, it doesn't matter because Survivor Series isn't a big four. It doesn't fucking matter, man. I know people aren't trying to defend WWE, but I got a few comments when I was complaining about it on Twitter on Saturday when they did it. I'm thinking, this is a fucking joke. And I had a few people saying, well, what do you expect? I mean, it's WWE. They always kind of fuck over the fans. I'm like, I expect a little better than this. They've never done this. They have never gone so far. With 3 hours of television on Monday nights and 2 hours on Fridays, they have more than enough time to hold qualifying matches. And the thing is, it's not a foreign concept. They do it every fucking year. Almost every single year, they've held qualifying matches. And even if they don't, they announce the teams on Raw and SmackDown. They spend the weeks leading up to the pay-per-view determining who's on each team, switching out members. The switching out of the members thing with Bobby and Dominic, I mean, maybe that was the plan the whole time. That would make sense because Bobby came back. So if they just announced Bobby for the team, it would have been weird because it's like, okay, we haven't seen him since Crown Jewel. Why is he on the team? Dominic being put on there only for Bobby to come back and take the spot. I don't have an issue with that. Bobby's a better fit for the team. Raw is stronger with him on it. And Maybe they did change their minds. The logic behind it from a storyline standpoint doesn't make sense, but from a booking standpoint, I'm totally fine with that. The fact they went so far as to just even announce it on Twitter in the first place was fucking stupid. It's lazy. And again, people saying, oh, well, it hasn't been a big four in a long time. I understand that, but it doesn't matter if it's Survivor Series or fucking anything. At day one, you don't announce a match like this, this brand supremacy bullshit that we're supposed to care about. You have more than enough time to do this shit on your shows. There's no excuse to not hold qualifying matches on Raw and SmackDown leading up to the pay-per-view. No excuse. No excuse. But I would say that about anything, though. If they, with the Money in the Bank matches, like they held qualifying matches for Money in the Bank leading up to the pay-per-view. They do that every single year. They have more than enough time to do that. It makes sense. That makes sense. And it goes for any pay-per-view. It's not just, you should kind of expect it because Survivor Series hasn't meant anything in a long time. No, I shouldn't expect it because they've never done this before because they've reached an all-new low of laziness. So it was very disappointing would be giving them too much credit, like I expect them to do the right thing as far as this shit goes. It was just annoying. It was just annoying. And the worst part is I might be there. I might be at this pay-per-view. And part of the reason is that I've never been to Survivor Series before, so just to say I've been, and if not this year, they're in Boston next year, so I can always go then potentially. But, it's not really about the elimination matches for me. It's more so about seeing Big E and Roman, to me, is an attraction. That match I really want to see. The rest of the card so far, even Becky and Charlotte, again, doesn't exactly intrigue me. John's second question. This Saturday is a big day for wrestling. AEW Full Gear and New Japan Pro Wrestling's Battle in the Valley take place within a couple of hours of each other. While more options are always a good thing, doesn't this have the potential to strain the relationship between New Japan and AEW? No, I don't think so. Just because they're holding a show on the same day. I mean, it's not like it's Wrestle Kingdom. I mean, I know this New Japan show in, I think it's Los Angeles, right? I know they're on the same day. The thing is, though, are they at the same time is the question. New Japan might be earlier on in the day. They're on not two opposite sides of the country. I'm not sure. I don't even know where Minneapolis falls as far as the time zone. I'm a fucking moron when it comes to geography. I know the New Japan show is in Los Angeles. I know that. So it might be at two different times. They've done this before. This is not a new concept. AEW and Impact have held shows on the same days, and their relationship was perfectly fine. I mean, there was a point, I think it was it Rampage or I don't know. Impact held an event, like one of their Turning Point specials or whatever. They held it on like the day of Rampage, like during Rampage, I think. Or maybe, I don't remember exactly, but like they've held shows simultaneously before. Unless it's like a major event, I don't really think it matters too much. I doubt there's talent that there's going to be on both shows anyway. It's not like AEW is bringing the New Japan people every single week. I mean, Suzuki was there doing a couple of matches, but he has already left back for Japan, I think. He's not here anymore in the States. He wasn't being used in Japan at the time in New Japan. So, I don't really think that makes much of a difference. And hopefully that show is great. I know Okada and Murphy's happening on that show, which sounds awesome. I might have to check that out. That sounds fucking great. Or whatever his new name is. Is it Buddy Matthews or something? Or is it Buddy? Or I forget. It's something Matthews, I think. Not Graham GSM Matthews. It's a different Matthews. So, anyway, no, I don't really think it's that big of a deal. At Kyle Rochelle 19, we'll get back to John's next question in a second, but Kyle's question, when is Seth Rollins going to face Big E for the WWE Championship? He's treating the contract as a Money in the Bank. Will it happen on Raw or on the Day 1 pay-per-view in January? I would wait until the pay-per-view. I know that sounds long. The pay-per-view's on January 1st, obviously. I mean, I guess they could do it on Raw, but they could. I could see them doing it on Raw, like the Raw after Survivor Series. Regardless of whether they do it on Raw or not, I would do a rematch of the pay-per-view or hold out until the pay-per-view. I mean, it isn't exactly like close. It is another, a month and 3 weeks away. It's a little less than, 2 months away. It's November 10th as we speak right now. The pay-per-view's on January 1st. And they started building towards the match like a week or two ago. So I would understand if they wanted to do it beforehand, but maybe it's a non-finish and they set up the rematch, the actual match for the pay-per-view. Either way, I see Big E and Rollins being the pay-per-view match. Because now that Owens has turned heel, they could always pivot to Owens and Big E as a non-title feud in the interim. That's also a possibility. Or they do Rollins and Big E on Raw and then do Owens and Big E at the pay-per-view. I think Rollins and Big E is a bigger match personally. I like Owens, but that's just what it is. But anyway, so yeah, I could see them doing both. I could see it happening on Raw sometime soon after the pay-per-view, after Survivor Series, and then seeing a rematch being held at Day 1. But if I had to take a guess, they'll probably hold out till the pay-per-view. With that just being 2 months away, it's hard to, drag out a feud for that long for this company, it seems, but it's possible. It's definitely doable. John's third question from earlier. Do you think there's any chance AEW sees the success of their 4 pay-per-views a year concept and decides to get greedy by adding 1 or 2 more in the upcoming years? It's possible. I don't think they will, though, especially depending on how it goes with these TNT specials, these quarterly TNT specials. I think there was already talk recently of one being in January, right? Like, they can't call it Clash or Champions, but I think there's a chance it could be called Battle of the Belts, Battle of the Brands, like it's fucking Survivor Series. Now, the Battle of the Belts or something like that would be cool. I heard they might be doing that in January. They have the theme shows too, like they do Fyter Fest, they do Fight for the Fallen, they did the St. Patrick's Day one, they did the New Year's Smash show, New Year's Eve show or whatever, the last year or two, or at least this past year. So they don't need another pay-per-view. I don't think Tony Khan is going to get greedy. I mean, they are getting greedy in the fact they're doing more specials, but hey, if they're entertaining and they make sense, then I'm not going to complain. I don't think we need another AEW pay-per-view, not that you're saying that we do. I don't think Tony Khan sees it that way either, because I feel like they're going to make up for it by doing more TV specials and doing more, quarterly specials on TNT, like the TBS Saturday night specials or whatever. I think that'd be perfect. And they're not 3 hours or 4 hours. They can be like 2 hours or whatever. I think that'd be awesome. At Iwagoon91, their first question was, do you think that CM Punk and Eddie Kingston's feud should continue past Full Gear? Absolutely. Love the verbal exchange last week on Rampage. I thought that was excellent. Very happy to see Punk finally get some direction. But that's the thing, though. This cannot be an interim temporary feud. Even the Darby Allin feud was temporary. That only went for a few weeks. And that even really wasn't much of a feud. It was more so just setting up Punk's first match in AEW. This feels like an absolute feud. It doesn't really matter if there's a clear-cut face or heel. They've established the issue. They've gone back and forth. They've brawled. Perfect. Got the match set up for the pay-per-view. Awesome. They should do at least one more match beyond Full Gear. Eddie's got to start winning some important matches. That's the problem. Like, he lost to Bryan Danielson. He lost to Miro. He lost to Jon Moxley a few times. He lost to the Young Bucks. He's lost to Lance Archer before. Like, it feels like he loses more often than he wins. So at some point he's going to have to win. I don't know if he's beating CM Punk. I wouldn't have him beat CM Punk. I wouldn't be mad if he did. I just don't think I would do that. But yeah, either way, they should have Punk probably win on Saturday and then build to like maybe a street fight on maybe the Long Island show in a couple of weeks on Dynamite. Or is it Rampage? I think it's Dynamite. But I would do that next month and do a Long Island street fight between Eddie Kingston and CM Punk. I think that'd be great. And then that means we can get more promos between the two in the weeks following Full Gear, which is can only be considered a good thing, obviously. His second question, your thoughts on Tony Khan keeping CM Punk out of the main event scene? It's smart. For now, they don't need Punk in the main event scene. I know Punk being as big of a name as he is, it would make sense for him to be in the main event scene. Like Bryan Danielson, for example. Having his first match be with Omega makes sense in retrospect. It was an awesome match. It got his run off to a great start. He goes right after the top star in the company. Doesn't really want the title right away. He does now, though. He's going to work his way back up. Punk is also working his way up the card by working with different people as well. So I like what they're doing with Punk. They got to give him more feuds, though. I mean, they're doing that now with Eddie, but for a while they were just kind of throwing him in there and having random matches, which I guess is the point. They want to get him reaccustomed to being in the ring and reacclimated and whatever. So it makes sense. I wouldn't put him in the world title picture anytime soon, though. That's the thing. With Bryan Danielson and Miro fighting for the number one contendership, Omega and Page doing their thing, there was no reason for Punk to be in the chase for the title right out of the gate. There's no reason for Punk to be in the chase for the title right now, and there's no reason for Punk to be in the chase for the championship anytime soon. If the winner of Page and Omega is going to have to worry about Miro and Danielson, or Miro or Danielson, then where does Punk fit in? That's the thing, he doesn't. Maybe by Revolution. Punk going for the belt at Revolution, maybe, depending on who the champion is is possible, and depending on what the story is, and he wouldn't win, I wouldn't think. I wouldn't put the belt on him at that point. But that is possible. So I like the fact that they're taking their time with Punk, not immediately shoving him in the main event scene. They are having him win, as they should, but they're not shoving. I mean, he is on a lot of their shows. So if someone says, oh, they're shoving him down our throats, I kind of get it, but at least it's all good stuff, and it's not the same stuff, and he's doing different matches, working with different people, having quality matches, and now great promos, too, with people like Eddie Kingston. So, I think the way they've booked Punk so far has been very good, just needs more direction, but I have no issue with them not putting him in the main event scene right out of the gate. And his third question here, did you know that Full Gear this Saturday will happen on the 16th anniversary of the late, great Eddie Guerrero's passing? I did not. I forgot that it was November 13th. So that's pretty cool. I'm sure someone on the show will do something to honor Eddie. Chavo isn't there right now. I thought that they just ditched the Chavo thing with Andrade because they just got bored of it, or they were bringing in Ric Flair, which thankfully didn't happen and hasn't happened yet. Hopefully it won't. I guess they did that because I was looking at the AEW roster page on Wikipedia, and unless this is wrong, I think Chavo was brought in to work with the Young Rock guys to do like the wrestling portion of it, a lot like he was doing with Glow. So that's why he's not on AEW TV right now. He's been off the show for about 2 months, since early September. So he might be back at some point. I don't know if he's going to be back alongside Andrade or whatever. But Chavo being on the show with Andrade would have been awesome. But I don't think Chavo's going to be able to make it. I'm not sure who else in the show would pay. I mean, probably Punk. I think Punk was a big Eddie guy. Vicky, obviously. I'm a fucking moron. If Nyla's on the show, which I don't think she would be, but maybe if they do a multi-woman tag team match, they can get her on the show. And, she's a heel, obviously. But just to get a Guerrero on the show would be cool. So, anyway, I did not know that. That's pretty cool. That's Supersonic X 1991 with the recent turns of Doudrop and Shotzi Blackheart in the women's division. Do you think that the women's division is lacking in top-tier babyface wrestlers and rely too much on heels? Yes, they do. I mean, you look at the heels they have right now. The entire 4 horsewomen are heels. All of them. Shotzi. Sasha was. She's not now, I guess. And she's not a great babyface anyway. She's just a way more natural heel. So I don't like that idea of her being a top babyface. I guess. But we were also seeing that with her earlier this year. The way they've booked Sasha lately is just weird with me. And not like in any way that's her fault. Like, oh, she's winning too much. I feel like make her a heel, and I don't know. The booking of Sasha has been odd. But, yeah, you got Shotzi going heel, which I would not have done. Shotzi and Sasha, as a feud, is great. The idea of the two reversing their roles and Shotzi being the heel, to me, makes no sense. And it's not organic. And so far, she's just not great on the mic or anything. So I would not have switched the two. Charlotte's a heel. They have Zelina, Carmella prominently featured on Raw. They're heels. Becky Lynch is a heel. Doudrop just turned heel. Well, they fired Eva and Nia, so that's part of the reason why they turned Doudrop heel, was because they fired 2 of their top women's heels on Raw, so that's why. Doudrop going heel, I don't have an issue with. I'm glad they didn't turn Bianca. I was thinking, are they having Bianca lose because they're going to turn her heel? That would have been fucking stupid, but I'm glad they didn't do that. For the baby faces, they have Rhea Ripley, who's just doing a whole lot of nothing right now. I know she's one half of the tag team champions, but let's be honest, that means absolutely nothing. Rhea Ripley has the potential to be more of a top baby face on either brand's women's division, so she's an option. Nikki Ash is a babyface, but she got her title run. I guess Rhea got her title run too, but the whole Nikki Ash experiment to me was a failure. It was just, the whole Nikki Ash character in general is fucking stupid, but at least Rhea Ripley is the top babyface and any brand makes sense. You got Toni Storm, you're not doing fucking jack shit with her. You have Tegan Nox, you're not doing jack shit with her. You had Shotzi, you turned her heel. So they do have a major babyface problem, and the problem is they have babyfaces. Like Naomi's getting some direction on SmackDown with Sonya. I think that's great, so at least they have Naomi. Liv is getting a push now, so they don't have no babyfaces, but at least one more strong babyface would help. Probably on the SmackDown side. SmackDown has, Sasha now? Bayley coming back as a babyface would be cool. I don't know if she would do that, and she probably... a lot of people want to see her continue doing her heel thing, which is fine, but I feel like if she went back to being a babyface, I'm fine with that, because it's been long enough now, and she did all that she could do as a heel, I felt. So, anyway, Yeah, they could use some more top-tier baby faces. They have a few. They just got to fucking use them. Toni Storm and Tegan Nox, chief among them. I mean, why are they not using these women? That makes no sense to me. Their next question, with no build-up to Survivor Series, especially the build-up to any champion versus champion matches, i.e. Charlotte Flair versus Becky Lynch and Big E versus Roman Reigns, how will those matches end? I don't really think the lack of build really matters as far as how those matches end. It's more so, who do they want to protect? Big E and Roman. Big E is not beating fucking Roman Reigns. I like Big E. He's had a good reign so far. Big E is not Roman Reigns and the run that he's been on lately. So Roman is absolutely winning. They could do a DQ in either match. They probably will in one of these matches because that's how WWE does things. I would not do that. I feel like that's fucking lazy. That's why you don't do champion versus champion matches. I would have Roman beat Big E. And if Roman's beating Big E, I would have Charlotte lose to Becky and give Raw the win. I mean, I guess if I said Raw earlier with both the elimination matches, you could have Charlotte win and Roman win. And I think Charlotte was part of the problem as to why that segment went south on SmackDown a few weeks ago between those two. So if you want to punish her, quote unquote, then have Becky Lynch win. But it really doesn't matter. I wouldn't have Becky Lynch lose. I mean, I know she lost to Sasha a few weeks ago, but she really hasn't lost a lot in the last couple of years. She's been heavily protected. She could afford a loss. It's okay, but Charlotte has lost more. And I don't know. I feel like Charlotte doesn't need the win. So I would have Becky win, and I would have Roman Reigns win in their respective matches. And the last couple of questions here from Justin David Kish. Got to get that right. I got it right for the first time because usually I say Justin David Cash, like Kid Cash. And we've spoken about that before. Justin's a great dude, a longtime supporter of the show and myself. Justin's awesome. Be sure to check out his stuff as well. His first question was, I have always been a huge fan of the Raven character in ECW and TNA. But when you look back at the WWE in 1999 and Undertaker's ministry, do you think that Raven could have fit in well with the stable? I do. So at that point, he was probably still in ECW, right? Because he came in, I think, after the closure of ECW in 2001. And he still did some cool stuff. Like, I feel like Raven is one of those guys where I don't think he was ever going to become a world champion in WWE. Was he ECW champion? I don't even remember. But I don't think he was ever going to become a top guy in WWE, especially in like the late 90s, early 2000s when you already still had the Takers and the Triple H's and the Kanes and the Jerichos and the Rocks and Stone Colds and whatever. But I do think he could have been bigger in WWE. And I think had he come in sooner, I think he did come in 2000, 2001. Had he been there a little bit earlier, yeah, he would have been a great fit for that Ministry of Darkness stable, The Undertaker, in 1999. Not exactly my favorite stable, the whole Midian shit. Like, I don't really like that type of stuff. Going back, watching the pay-per-views from 99, it's not exactly my favorite year in WWE history. I've made that clear before. I don't really love the Attitude Era, like pay-per-views and stuff. I love WrestleMania 17 and certain other pay-per-views from that time period. But a lot of those shows had a lot of garbage wrestling, and I'm more of like I didn't watch the Raws, so I don't know. A lot of those matches with the Ministry were not great from what I can recall going back and watching them. But Raven was very good, though. I actually got into Raven's work initially, like you said, in TNA. Not his initial time there, but like I started watching wrestling in 2008. So like in 2009, when he came back, and I'm like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, Raven sounds interesting. And he was doing the stuff with Daphne and later Stevie Richards, and I thought that was pretty cool. Abyss as well. So I've enjoyed Raven. I think the character's great. I think they could have done more with him in WWE, but it wasn't really the time or the place for it. And I actually had a chance to meet him about 5 years ago. He's a cool guy. And Justin's second question, do you think we will ever see the Lone Wolf, Baron Corbin character again? Never say never. I don't think so, though. I think it's pretty rare WWE goes back and regresses to an old character. Usually they just move forward. Corbin's had a lot of characters since the Lone Wolf days. He's been a king. He's happy Corbin right now. He was broke for a little while. He was the general manager of Raw. He was wearing a fucking TGI Fridays vest there for a while in 2018, 2019. So it's been a while. He really hasn't been lone Baron Corbin, like Lone Wolf Baron Corbin, since I would say maybe early 2018. And we're almost 4 years removed from that. I love the whole theme song. The Jim Johnston theme song that they made for him was fucking great. He still used it as the King, like a little bit of a remixed version with the King stuff mixed in. It was a little bit of a lazy remake, but at least they still had the they still had the general theme, and they ditched that when he became Happy Corbin. So I don't know if they would go back to it, but it was such a great song, and I loved Lone Wolf Baron Corbin. Happy Corbin's been entertaining. I liked broke-ass Baron Corbin, or bum-ass Baron Corbin, whatever Pat McAfee called him. But Lone Wolf Baron Corbin is what my favorite iteration of the character was from like his early NXT days. I'm thinking like 2015 through maybe 2016. Like that to me was prime Corbin. He was having some kick-ass matches with Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn, had some really good matches with Austin Aries at the TakeOver show. And then even when he joined the main roster, him and Dolph feuded forever, but they had some quality matches. Him and AJ Styles always worked well together, I thought. He was a former U.S. champion, and he got a WWE title shot at one point, which was really cool. Had some decent matches with Jack Swagger when he first arrived on SmackDown a few years ago. The chairs match with Kalisto I thought was fucking awesome from TLC 2016 between those two. So, I don't think we'll ever go back to it. I always thought Lone Wolf Baron Corbin was great. Some people found him boring, and people still find him boring. I get it, but to answer your question, I think the answer is no, although I would be very happy to see it because I feel like that Baron Corbin is the best Baron Corbin, aside from broke-ass Baron Corbin, but I think we're done with that too. And that's going to do it, guys, for this episode of #AskGSM for Wednesday, November 10th, 2021, episode 415 here today. Thank you guys, as always, for checking out the show. I appreciate it. As I said earlier, if you want to send in a question to the show, you can do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with a #AskGSM. Be sure to tweet me, or rather drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Facebook at facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. It's the post I usually, like I said, because I didn't last night, I forgot. That and the fact I was out seeing the Eternals. But you can drop a question on that post on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section in this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. So with all that being said, guys, have an awesome rest of your week. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.